Hello, sweet angels. Welcome to the Storm Code. In this episode, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. And now that I have your attention, let's talk about the fear of failure, shall we? I promise I didn't just bait and switch you. Maybe. They're related, okay? Give me a break. We gotta make some jokes here and have some fun because spirituality is a little dense sometimes, as some of you know. So, welcome to the Storm Code. If you're new, this is a podcast that is all about demystifying the human experience and learning how to live as a soul in a human body. Hello, as difficult or as challenging as that may seem. So, if you're new, what's going on? My name is Stormy Calder. Some of you know me as Emelina, although at this point, I think I'm pretty well known on the internet as Stormy, maybe also in person. And I am a consciousness expert, a psychic medium, a high performance coach, and a shaman, helping you to Sherpa your human experience and guide you to navigate a happy, healthy, soul driven, and love fueled life. And I promise we'll hit some freaking high notes, baby, but we're also going to talk about all the shit that comes with being human. There's absolutely no way I'm going to avoid it. If you want spiritual bypassing, find someone else, but I think you're going to enjoy my content. So, this is where I pull back the curtain of the veil in between realities, the quantum source, and introduce you to the Wizard of Oz. Voila, that wizard is you. And part of that wizardry is we have to talk about the fear of failure. Why failure? And why sex? They are so related. And I'm going to stream of conscious channeled content around why my spirit guides relate them continually to me. And the download I got before I started shooting this podcast was a little salt and pepper, baby. So that's where we're taking this. Please stick around. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, where do I want to begin? The fear of failure. Why is everyone so freaking afraid of failure? You know, it's something that I coach a lot of people on, I hear a lot about, and it's not that I don't fear failure, it's that I don't care. Now, that's not something that was baked into me in my upbringing. It is something that I taught myself probably over the course of the last 15 years is I am an entrepreneur. I do have a business mind, and that's not just about business. When you are entrepreneurial and you're self-made, just to give you the context and the perspective of where the hell I come from, and that I'm not just some weird alien universal being that doesn't have a fear of failure. Of course, you know, I do. We all do. I just don't care. I just don't care, and I'm going to tell you about it so that maybe I can impart a little wisdom. You can shake off some of your feel of failures, some of your fear of feeling. Maybe you have a fear of feeling what it is to fail, which is an anomaly. Is failure even real? Let's talk about that. Is failure even real? I don't think so. I mean, if you do think so, I would say congratulations. You've inherited one of the most monstrous limiting beliefs that without being able to overcome and reframe in your subconscious mind, you will always be terrified of success. Because you can't have success while maintaining control of the universal source complex. Congratulations. If you want success, you also have to want failure. They are two sides of the same coin. And when you gamble for one, you get the other. When you gamble for the other, you get the one. You get the whole. You get the complete package. Now, the truth is, in my world, through all of my personal development that I have been avidly working hard at for the last 17 years, failure does not exist. Only feedback and refinement. Most people feel failure because when they attach to an outcome of what they think success should look like, they're seeking external validation and approval, because otherwise they'd realize the success is themselves showing up as they are and conforming the circumstances in any now present moment to meet them in any way they and others need around them. Most people fear failure because they fear that it's going to trigger at some level the feeling of brokenness. Because if you fail, depending on what you failed at, you must be broken. Now, that might not be your belief, but that is my understanding of what many of these beliefs come down to is a feeling of brokenness. And here's what I want to say to you. If this resonates with you, you are not broken. You just lack refinement. I don't believe in failure. I believe in refinement. I believe in art. I believe in artwork, and I believe in perceiving myself as the artwork. That is something I have been developing within myself for years and years and years. I'm going to give you the context, and those of you that follow me know that I will take my wandering story journey to relate things to my human experience to help you relate them to your own for your own self-reflection. So, gosh, why doesn't failure exist? I already forgot my story, by the way. This is a perfect example of failure. But why doesn't failure exist in my world? Because I'm the artwork. Oh, I remember the story now. Here we go, right back on track. That's what failure is. You fail and then you get right back on track. Who cares? That's why I say who cares? Failure doesn't exist. You fail and then you come back. You fail and then you come back. So is failure anything but just learning? No, it's just learning. All right. So when I was younger, I have a lot of arts in my background, arts and music and performance and all of the artistry that a human can have. I have in my background in spades. There was a point where I transitioned my focus from artwork and from music into marketing and business. And part of my ability to continue to fold my art into everything that I do without feeling like I was neglecting half of myself, that is the super hyper creative person that I am, is I started adopting the belief that I'm the artwork and I would improve myself as a work of art. So as I worked on myself in my personal development, I would treat myself with the care and love and attention and refinement as I would any work of art that I would have otherwise produced, whether it would have been photography, whether it would have been creative direction or social media posts or building websites. Like I really invested in my artwork. Most of my art is more marketing driven. I am a commercial artist in general. But whether it's that or whether it's paintings, whether it's music, ultimately, I placed all of that on back burner to take on personal development and cultivating myself as the artwork. I think it's been a really healthy belief system for me. And if this feels right for you, go ahead and try it on. The reason why I love considering myself as the art is because for anyone that knows anything about art, it is perfectly imperfect. Art is channeled from the soul, it is channeled from your heart. It is not something that comes out with perfection. It is something that comes out raw with talent. It is uncontrollable and it is something that can only be refined. Anyone who knows anything about creativity knows that if you go in trying to control your creativity, whether you are sitting in front of your laptop ready to write your novel, write a screenplay, whether you're drafting up a new musical composition, whether you are going to sit down and create a painting or a website, if you're a graphic designer or anything else, if you are trying to control the art before you allow the flow to begin, you are creating with blockage. You are already set to fail. Now, if you are any level of creative block is real. I don't believe in it because I understand how to tap into my own flow. So I'm not denying creative block. I'm just saying there's a better way. Why approach any level of artwork, which if you haven't realized yet, I'm calling you a work of art. I promise we'll get into that sexual component too. It's coming. It's coming. Okay. I try to keep things interesting here. And my guides, my spirit guides are very comical. And I'm not going to lie, they are very sexual. So it's going to come through, I promise. But seeing yourself as a work of art, A, gives you patience, gives you radical self acceptance as you approach any level of your own personal development. And B, it allows you the context or perspective or frame of reference to approach yourself in a flow mindset. Creative blocks, blocks in general, blocks to creativity, blocks to success, blocks to money, blocks to any sort of source flow, life force flow, which is what creativity is, isn't really real. It's a fabrication. If you thought about like a river flowing, like the river's never going to stop flowing in theory, okay, unless you put in a dam. And now the river is being blocked by the dam and producing a lot of pressure. Now, if you think about physics with a dam, I don't know how people build dams or the construction behind that, but there's a lot of pressure that's built behind that dam from the water slamming behind that concrete, right? The block that was created. What happens with that? I would call it a creative constipation. What happens is you get frustrated. What happens is some level of resentment. What happens is explosive anger. What happens is long-term resentment. What happens is depression if you hang on to that shit for too long. Creative flow needs to be accessed through the flow. And when you're busy trying to be perfect for everyone around you, or busy trying to conform your output of who you are into this world or universe, or busy trying to not fail and trying to make sure that everything you produce is a success, A, that's exhausting. B, it's not art. And art and success are one and the same. Okay, so we'll keep going with that. And C, what dictates success for you? And we will get into this in another episode where I talk about what success truly means. But what does success mean for you? Is it other people liking your work? Is it other people liking you? Is it other people paying you for liking you for something that you may or may not be into actually doing, that you may or may not actually enjoy? Well, my spirit guides are telling me to bring it back to sex, all right? So, I mean, what let's just make it primal because everyone understands this, all right? If you have a fear of failure, I mean, I don't know, like maybe some people do, but you got a fear of sex? Like when you're making love, like are you afraid of having an orgasm? Are you afraid of getting messy? The whole act of it is a mess. All of it is a mess. That's the freaking point. It's the mess of creation. All right? So, what are you creating and what are you afraid to get messy about and why? What does success mean to you? What does sex mean to you? My spirit guides are streaming this through in this way because what it's going to do is help to unfold your subconscious mind and to A, stop being so serious. Stop being so serious when it comes to producing things that are worth producing in your life, whether it is a business, whether it is a work of art, whether it's a publication, whether it's your personal brand, whether it's a new project, whether it's you going out on a limb at work and telling them you have a creative thought or idea on something that would really probably propel the company. Like you need to be in the act of creation. That act of creation is inherently messy and it's beautiful and it's perfectly imperfect. But the point is, my guides are kind of bringing it back to here is like, what does success look like for you? So if your idea of success was other people's validation or approval, please just bring this back to sex. Could you imagine if your idea of happy, pleasurable sex was the approval or validation of another partner? That could go one of two ways. Either you have a great partner who gets you, who vibes with you, who is right for your energy, and then that is successful, or you end up with many other karmic partners who are absolutely terrible for you. You're gonna have a bad time of it, or it's just gonna be a shit wreck. And, it's gonna it's gonna create that shipwreck all over your life. Because the thing is, sex is creation, and failure is a lack of creation. Now, I'm gonna trust that you guys will track with me, okay? Y'all know I can get racy and stuff, and I honestly, again, my spirit guides are very just, like, forwardly pioneering in how we talk, so again, we're just gonna stream of consciousness this through. Hopefully, this will make sense by the time I'm done. So, my spirit guides always ask me, it's one of my short codes that they use with me. They say, consistently to me, "Are you having death or are you having sex?" And I'm like, I know what that code means, but I'm going to break it down for you. Now, I think it's interesting because I have some very elevated spirit guides and they enjoy speaking to me in a very human way because they enjoy watching me transmute energies and share it with other humans to remind them that being human is not so bad. We are just a little wabi sabi game down here, which I'll get into in a moment as well. So, perfectly imperfect. That's what human is. So, what are you creating? If you have a fear of failure, you have a fear of creation, you have a fear of success. They're one in the same. And it may as well be a fear of sex. So, for anyone who is listening to me, if you have never heard anyone relate it this way, which I'm sure you haven't, because I'm the one nutty one that would come on here and say this. If you have a fear of failure, I want you to say, do I have a fear of having wonderful sex? with a partner that I've chosen that I enjoy? No. Most of you won't. No? Well, then drop the fucking fear of failure. Enough already, all right? And I promise it actually is that easy. It is that easy. Okay, so why in dear God's name do Stormy Calder's spirit guides say, "Are you making death or are you making sex right now?" Because both are an act of, well, one's an act of creation, one's an act of destruction, but it's the same alchemical energy. Your sexual energy is what creates success or failure. Period. End of story. It comes out of your sacral chakra. It is your creative life force flow. How you control, wield, work with, and allow that flow dictates whether or not you are deconstructing something and decomposing something in the ground through alchemy, which is a form of death magic, through your creation ability, or if you are focused on the sexual side of it, which is an alchemical process. And I'm not saying this is you necessarily having sex, though it could be. Um, it's the alchemical process of you working with your own sensual energy and the flow of life force within you and the universe. And the spontaneous, formless substance that wants to create through you, whether that is a relationship or the actual formless substance that sits in the unified field. The ideas that are ready to be birthed into this world, things that you've been manifesting and asking for that are just waiting for the moment for you to, gently speaking, energetically have sex with it. It's not an actual sexual thing, but it is in the mechanics of the energy in the body. It is another energy coming to you that's probably a form or version of you. Your ideas are versions of your own soul through the unified field coming back to you to mix and co-create with your own sacral energy, your kundalini energy, to then create something, a production of something, whether that's a thought, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a new project, whether that's just a happy day. So my spirit guides always say to me, "Are you creating death or are you creating sex?" And that is one of their key codes to remind me that I have a choice to do shadow work or light work today. Shadow work is it's creating from death. It's transmuting energy to release something into the decomposition of the ground of your shadow beneath the surface to release it and to be done. There is nothing wrong with it. It's just about being conscious about which sort of magic you are using with your life force. Okay. When my spirit guides refer to the sex life force, what they are bringing my attention to is, what am I consciously creating? What am I alchemizing that is enjoyable? What am I looking to climax from? Because with every act of a creation, there is a high. So, what is that high that I'm reaching for? And if I don't know what the intention is, then it becomes messy. And this is the case for anything we create: a thought, an emotion, a conversation, an email, a business. You get it. You get it? I hope you get it. Okay, so focusing on the sex aspect of this is focusing on the creation, the co creation. And again, there's nothing wrong with working with death, there's nothing wrong with release, there's nothing wrong with decomposition. But frequently, people focus on what's dying. That's the failure. What's failing, what's not working for you, what's making you miserable. When you could just shift your focus onto, I mean, have you had enough misery yet? Have you had enough? And then from that point, it comes to shifting your focus onto what's enjoyable, what's new, what do I want to create? And why do we live in a culture that is so obsessed with failure? So obsessed with it. This fear of failure, it's insane. Most people I come into contact with are like, I have this dream and I haven't activated or thought about like really doing it because what if I fail? And I was like, what? So I'm going to give you guys a little example from someone I knew earlier in my life. Um, friend of a friend, but older woman. Situation is, she told me that one of her biggest dreams was to be a singer. and she would watch the shows on TV, and she would be glowy-eyed about it, and it would be like the one time her heart would be happy whenever she would see these shows of other people singing. And she was like, "I always dreamt of being a singer, but I'm just a nurse and I just can't. It's never gonna happen." And I was probably like 23, and I looked at her and I said, "Well, I don't understand. Can't you just take singing lessons?" I was like, I actually think I know some vocal coaches. Do you want me to connect you with one?" And she was like, "Oh, no, no, my time is over." And I was like, "You're only you're only like 58. What do you mean?" I was like, "What do you mean your time's over? You got at least 20 years. And you've got enough time at home every evening. What do you mean? You mean you just want your dreams to die on your couch. That's what you mean. That's what this is." Because if you really wanted to enjoy your life force that comes through the body, I was like, you would go after your dream. And I remember telling her too, I was like, "Listen, like, okay, like maybe you're not gonna be a professional singer, like I get that, but your heart is yearning to sing. So why not give it to yourself?" And she was so obsessed with this idea that she could never make it. She was like, "But I'm too old. I can't. My time is over. I'm not young enough." And I feel like this was a moment for me in my 20s where I made an active decision where when I experienced this, I set a memory for myself for context and frame of reference in my mind. And I said, "Stormy, never give up on your dreams." And I said, "You don't need to be the most successful, like freaking celebrity singer to like in this case with this dream for this woman. Like you don't have to be that to be successful. You just have to do what makes you light up." There's a reason why we have dreams. A lot of us attach to those dreams being an external validation. Like, I can only chase this dream if I then become a billionaire in this sector, or if then millions and millions of people know me in this area. But, like, God, take the pressure off, man. Like, what? Let's do a little foreplay with the universe, all right? Little foreplay with your soul, which is, just start. Like, I love the sex references because I mean, you ever hear kissing? Like, you're not just going right for it, man. You ever hear kissing? Like, it's like the same with your dreams. Like, seduce your dreams. Your dreams aren't just all of a sudden gonna pop and come out. Your dreams are like shaking you awake, going, "Please just start." There's so many good things that are gonna be so successful if you can just start activating what it is to be successful. And what it is to be successful is to go after what you want. It doesn't matter what the fucking outcome is. I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't matter. Do you know why? Because if you're betting on you, which I recommend you do, if you never stop, you always win. If every time you get knocked down, you get back up again, you will never fail. Could you imagine? I'm going to give you another analogy. If we looked at every one-year-old child and we're like, "You're a failure, you can't walk yet." How dare you wanna try walking? What do you think, you're God? What? You have a dream of being a biped? How dare you? Get back to crawling, child. How cruel. Okay, so why are you talking to your inner child this way? And you might not be openly in dialogue with your inner child this way, but the fear of failure is so paralyzing and so debilitating for most people that they never take the shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky quote. Yes, that is cliche. Yes, I have had people in the past tell me that is cliche. I don't give a F. I have been rehearsing that that line in my mind for years. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If there's one thing that I can go back and tell my 22-year-old self, my 18-year-old self, and my 16-year-old self, I'd say get up and take every fucking shot. Every single one. Because hesitation causes pain. Let me repeat that again for those of you in the back. Hesitation causes pain. It causes anguish. It causes grief. It causes depression. Every shot that you want to take that you don't take builds up. It builds up in that flow of the river that's slamming up against the dam. And then people wonder throughout their lives, why am I upset all of the time? Why do I not feel fulfilled? Well, we live in a society that cultivates a lack of fulfillment. So if you do what everybody says to do with your life, you are not going to be fulfilled. Being fulfilled is an active state of defiance. It is defiant to live a life purpose that is beyond anything, that is beyond the stock box that you were placed in from our original industrialist society that said you were meant to work at factories, so we're going to stick you in 9 to 5 so that you can be compliant, so you can play by the rules, so you can listen to people, so that you can stand in the line, so you can color in the fucking box, and so that you don't ever speak out of line. Just get to work, and hopefully you won't get your arms cut off today while you're, on your machine assembly line. Oh gosh. I'm running rampant today. So, I mean, if you're following me thus far, I think probably you're still awake. Did I just wake you up? Wake up! I'm not here for the normal life, and I will not be on my podcast either. Thank you very much. I know many of you are not, and you're looking to really break the mold and step out and create a beautiful life for yourself that you absolutely fundamentally enjoy. Well, what's the deal about failure then? It can't exist. It just can't. I'm not telling you to be a perfectionist, psychopath and be like, "I can never fail." No, I'm telling you that failure is just a construct of the mind. It's a construct of belief. So if you don't wanna fail or you don't wanna experience failure that often, then every time you think you fail, reframe it. Because the truth is, if you're still living, breathing, if you have breath in you, if you have light in your eyes, and you have power in your heart or someone else who could give you power from the heart, and you have a body, you have the ability to change. You have the ability to transmute. You have the ability to create. You have the ability to alchemize. You have the ability to remember who you are and to take that into a concrete activation and take the fucking shots. I don't know a single radically successful person that did not create. Take the shot, take the shot, take the shot. It doesn't even matter what industry they're in. Although I feel like I can bring this back to business, and some of you are gonna be like, "What? She's talking about art, she's talking about business, she's talking about sex, and she's talking about failure." Yeah, welcome to Stormy's freaking universe, you guys, okay? Like, that's who I am. I'm gonna talk about it all. I don't even care how freaking random it is because it's not random. It's not random, it's energy. So taking it to business, if you guys have ever heard of sales reps, I've dated a number of them because I love salespeople, honestly. Like, they're very good at what they do. They can't just take a no. It's not about being persuasive, and it's not about convincing people to have things that they don't need. Good sales is about building resistance to failure. It is about building self-reliance. It is about building resiliency for rejection, especially for people that do cold calling. When people do cold calling, the people on the other ends of the phone are so mean and so degrading to sales reps, like absolutely degrading. And so these sales reps have to build such a thick skin and continue to be positive in the face of absolute adversity. And the most degrading of statements thrown on them on the phone for just showing up to do their job. And they have to continue to be positive. And they have to continue to be self-reliant. And they have to continue to be at their peak performance states. And they have to continue to say, I got a no, but that doesn't mean that the next phone call is going to be a no. That doesn't mean that the next one's going to be a no. It doesn't mean that the next one's going to be a no. And they keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going until they get a yes. And I promise you, they do. And then once they understand what created that yes, then they double down on those specific experiences. I wanted to bring up Seth Godin. So Seth Godin is the grandfather of modern marketing. I believe that he pitched his first book to, it was something ridiculous. Okay, don't quote me, but it was either 80 or 800 publishers. I feel like it was in the hundreds, but just in case it isn't, don't quote me. He pitched it to hundreds of publishers, and they all said no. If any of you know who Seth Godin is, he has written probably over 30 books. They're all bestsellers. Like, he is the go-to for creativity on demand, for practiced creativity, for publishing every single day. He publishes a blog article every single day. It's practice through daily repetition of habit of allowing creative source to flow through you so there are no blocks. It's a refusal, a failure, and a refusal of blocks. And it's reframing failure. How do you fail if you show up every day? You don't. Because the truth is, I don't want to say it's a numbers game because it's not. But if we were to look at it statistically as a numbers game and you have a fear of failure, if you show up every day and you want to be a writer and you publish something every single day, that's 365 publications per year, don't you think that at least one out of the 365 is going to be a fucking banger? Of course it is. Of course it is. You are bound to succeed by moving your effort through. They say the same thing about YouTubers. What most multi-million subscriber YouTubers say is publish as frequently as possible because the refinement comes naturally day to day as you publish more and more videos. So you don't have to work on the skill sets per se. It happens naturally as you refine one video after another video after another video after another video through practice. So, I mean, if you guys are wondering, that's why I publish so many freaking videos. Now, the fact that Seth Godin was denied by hundreds of publishers. This is what you need to think because this man is known as a very, very successful human. If you don't know him, you can look it up. Those of you that are in any level of marketing or business will know who he is. Who has the grit and the determination to continue to send out letters to publishers and say, will you please publish my book? I think it's good material when they are being denied by hundreds of publishers. Who else would do that? Do you know what that takes? Grit, willpower, determination, self-love instead of self-loathing. And could you imagine, like maybe it's like the 300th publisher that says yes. Could you imagine if he stopped at 299? Then he'd be a failure. And we wouldn't have the 30-something books that he's published. We wouldn't have his wonderful speaking engagements. We wouldn't have modern digital marketing from a human that's probably got a lot of integrity and is really rooted in his own creativity and personal development and spirituality. We wouldn't have it if he quit. How ridiculous had he quit? I'm giving you that example because he talks about themes like this and because he is known for just knocking shit out of the park, just publishing so much. And he also has so many failures that he talks about very openly. But is it really a failure when you have an entire published work in history that is celebrated around the world? No. And that's the fucking point, you guys. So if you have a fear of failure, you have a fear of creation. You have a fear of other people's opinions. You have a fear of being perceived as broken or seeing yourself as broken. You have to push through with resilience to get through the resistance. The greater the idea, the greater the goal, the greater the art, the more resistance that shows up on the path. It is not an indication to stop or to throw your projects or dreams away. It is an indication to keep going. When the resistance shows up, it means you're going to bust through a massive limitation in your consciousness and probably do something that was never done before. For yourself, maybe others, maybe for the world. How freaking fabulous. I think that, culturally, I feel like we're really just way too short-sighted. People are looking for overnight success, like pretty much overnight. If they don't see results in like 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years or 5 years, they're freaking out and they're like, I guess I have to leave my dreams behind. And it's like, either you want it or you don't. Either you know who you are and you're going to continue to be who you are regardless of what the world says and you're going to find a way through, or you're going to commit yourself to this idea of the fear of failure, which is the death in the sex match that I've been talking about with my spirit guides. It's like, why die when you could be alive? You don't have to read into that too deeply. I just mean more like philosophically, but you can be alive. Is there pain in creation? Like, yeah. Please. If you're creating anything good, there's gonna be pain pouring through it, right? The more pain, the more creation we have to do because art is alchemy. Again, regardless of what that art is, it's many different things for many different people. So, circling back, I wanted to talk about the idea of refinement rather than focusing on how do I not fail or how do I avoid failure. Why don't you just flow with what your life is going to create things, and rather than focus on the failures, focus on what you learn. Focus on refinement. Because with every quote failure, it just means it's not refined yet. Like, could you imagine if Thomas Edison just stopped working on the light bulb? Like, everybody knows this quote. He worked on, I don't know, what did he have? 9,000 renditions of light bulbs that didn't work before he hit the jackpot one that finally worked. And people were like, oh my God, that's so many. Like, why would you keep going when you knew that you were failing? And he was like, I wasn't failing. I just saw 9,000 ways it didn't work. Like, he had the vision of success in his mind. He was given the idea of success. He knew what it was. Now, that was his dream. That was his vision. And he was willing to pursue the vision until it worked. So, my sweet angel babies listening, try to let go of this idea that you could fail. You're either in the game or you're not. You either want what you want or you don't. And it's okay if you don't want it. And if you give up, then you didn't want that thing enough. Like, all right. But don't carry this fear of failure on your soul and on your heart, or ever see yourself as a failure, which is something everyone should just shoot shoot down. Shoot on sight. You're not a failure. The things that you've done that have failed haven't really failed. They just lack refinement. What can you learn from them to go again? And to go again, and to go again, and refine it, and refine it, and refine it, and refine it until you have your smash success. Whether it's a fucking light bulb, or whether it's a novel or a screenplay or a song or a work of art or a website or an email marketing campaign or a video or a course or a project, whatever it is for you, whatever it is that you are creating. Maybe it's a relationship. Let's throw that one in the mix. I didn't even think about that, but like, are relationships art? Yes. Yes. I certainly think so. Now, I think a lot of people are creating like death matches in their relationships. My guides have a lot of things to say about that, but I think I'm going to save that for a different time, perhaps. A different time, my friends. Okay, let me think about if there's anything else I wanted to say. Oh, the wabi sabi. There's perfection in imperfection. What I love about wabi sabi as a concept, which is just another concept to fold in these ideas that there is nothing to fear around failure, because the practice of wabi sabi is a Japanese practice of taking something broken and repairing it and making it more beautiful through the repair. And in the repair, it becomes something that it wasn't before. It becomes something that was broken, and new elements were added to create more strength in the seams that were broken and create something more beautiful than the original ever had. It's a practice of perfection in imperfection. It's a practice of refinement. It's a practice of creating from what you have and loving the pieces of the heart, the pieces of my my spirit guides are really having it. They're streaming through me. They're like the pieces of your fart work. I'm like, what? What spirit? And if you don't know, my guides really do speak this way. So take it. Take it. The fart work. What are they saying with that? They're saying you could fart and make art. Like, meaning like you don't have to try. You don't have to try so hard. You create naturally. It is a natural state of your effortless high performance in your own special sweet sauce of who you are, the circumstances you came from, the value in your perspective that only you can have, the value of the experiences that create your worldview and lens that only you can have. There will never be another you with your perspectives, with your likeness that understands the world through the eyes through which you see. Why not celebrate that? Perfection in the imperfection. There is nothing perfect about you, and you are absolutely precious and perfect as you are. That is what it is to be human, and that is what is so challenging about working with your soul and your humanity. Through your humanity is accepting what it is to be raw, what it is to be a dense human with lots of different emotions who fears just about everything. And learn how to love that. Learn how to love your dense parts. Learn how to love your shadow. Learn how to love your vulnerabilities. Learn how to love your messy, messy, messy emotions. Learn how to love probably your messy thoughts or your controlling thoughts. Learn how to love your precious energy and learn how to combine all of these things together to be completely authentically you in a way that you creatively express yourself free from the burden of thinking that you could ever fail. Any failure that you encounter is temporary. It requires refinement, it requires learning, and it requires stepping back up to the plate and taking another shot, going at it again, making another phone call if you're a sales rep until you get the yes, because you have a vision of success in your mind and in your heart. And that vision was given to you on behalf of your soul, on behalf of your higher mind, of your higher self, on behalf of God. And it is meant to be fulfilled. It is meant to be brought into this planet and into this universe. And maybe the conditions aren't quite ripe right now for you. Maybe you need a little bit more refinement. Maybe the work needs more refinement, or maybe the people around you or the audience needs more refinement. And maybe they'll be more refined through a little bit more time for you to land in market with the right audience. So take what you love, leave the rest. As always, I hope you enjoyed this episode, you guys. Feel free to let me know what you think. If you have anything kind or fun to say, I'm ears. And until next time, I will see you guys soon. Alrighty, peace.